Hey guys, Mobius1 here again. Playing as Phenodin this time. After our chat about Jedi, I think the next biggest conversation piece as far as Galaxies goes is probably the crafting system. And actually, the crafting system can be pretty daunting at first because it's fairly complicated. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it, much like the rest of the game, but the awesome thing is the variety in terms of the quality of resources that people can produce. So while in other modern MMOs you'll have like schematics or something to learn or to craft items, and as long as you have the resources you need to craft that item, every item is essentially the same. Now, I know this isn't true for every game, but from what I understand, most of them, or from what I've seen, most games is like, yeah, you need 10 of X, 20 of Y, 5 of Z, and once you have all those, you put them into something and out pops an item. And if I make that item, and you make that item, and someone down the street makes that item, all three of them are going to be the same. Galaxies is way different in the fact that since all the resources have stats, individual stats and different qualities for different categories, two people can make the same item, and one will be really awesome and one will be absolutely horrible based on the resources that they used. So what this video is going to be is simply an introduction to crafting and resource gathering. I mean, things in this can get way more complicated come end game crafting or higher level crafting with the use of factories and crafting stations and private crafting stations and research cities, and we're not going to get into all that. This is just for, the new player who's never crafted in Galaxies before. This is what you need to know. So all I've done before I started filming here is I found an Artisan Trainer, and I'm still in feed on Naboo, by the way. So I'm up here. I just clicked Artisan, found one of the little things that says an Artisan Trainer. Here we go. I picked up Novice Artisan, which gives you some draft schematics. And basically what the draft schematics are things that you can craft. If you ever want to see what draft schematics you have, just open up your data pad. The last category is draft schematics. So here's a list of everything that I can craft. And if you click on any of these things, it'll actually tell you what you need to make it. So for this gas pocket survey device, I'll need 8 units of metal for this part, 8 units of metal for this part, 3 units of metal for this part, and 8 units of mineral for this part. We'll get into that in a minute, but basically, I believe if you start as an artisan, they give you a crafting tool. Since I did not start as an artisan, I started as a marksman. If you watched the first episode of the Let's Play, we don't have a crafting tool. We just have some basic weapons and resources that we've gathered over the past couple of episodes. So, I'm going to come and find one of these bizarre terminals that we kind of talked about in one of the other episodes. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to leave it on this region because I don't want to travel. And I'm basically looking for what's called a generic crafting toolkit. I'm going to look under Tool, Crafting Tool. I'm going to sort by price because I don't want to pay too much. So there's different types of crafting tools. You have Structure and Furniture, Weapon Droid and General Item, Clothing and Armor, but here's what we're looking for, Generic Crafting Tool. And I'm going to double click on this to get a little details thing. And even the crafting tools have a stat called Tool Effectiveness. So you see, even this item was made by a player, Object Creator Maudamin. So that's another thing that's kind of cool about this, is where you can buy a lot of this stuff from NPCs and other MMOs. Actually, I would say more than 90% of the items in Galaxies are made by players. Or 90% of the ones that are worth having, anyway. So, you can do a little bit of shopping. People will put the tool effectiveness in the name of the tool most of the time. So you can see this guy's right here, by Zama. 13.53. Weapon Droid. Food and Chemical. Yeah, 14.43 is pretty good, but that's not the kind of tool we're looking for. Since it doesn't really matter at this point, I'm just going to grab one of these by Zama, 13.53. It's only 500 credits, and I've got plenty. So I'm going to double-click that. Since we are on this region, I'm not going to have to travel anywhere. Right here we can see that it's in Naboo, or it's in Theed on Naboo, which is where we are. So I'm going to click buy, and it says this item has been purchased. It should put it right into your inventory, but if for some reason your inventory is full when you make a purchase, or if you make a purchase at a city that you aren't currently in, you have to travel to that city, and anything that you purchase will be stored in this available items tab. So that's what happens. It's not like, you know, eBay, where if you make a purchase they ship it to you. It's you make a purchase and then you have to go pick it up, which EVE Online shares that functionality. So alright, so we have a generic crafting tool. That's going to be, I think that's all we need right now. Let me just see. I'm also going to need a sampling device. Would that be under Miscellaneous, right? Yeah. What do we need for this? Oh, no, I can... Can I survey? I need a tool. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to make any of these. Alright, so I'm also going to have to purchase a metal or a mineral survey device, because I'm looking at all these require metal and mineral to make. So, back to the bazaar. Again, this is something they might start you with if you're an artisan, or if you choose artisan at character creation, but since I didn't, this is important to know. Alright, so we come back to the bazaar under tool again, a survey tool. We're looking for, not a lot to choose from, but here's some. Mineral survey device. These do not have stats. Oh hey, it's made by the same dude. Cool. So I'm going to buy it, only 300 credits, and there we go. So we have that now. I'm not going to bother with the rest of them for now, because in a little bit I'll be able to make my own. So, if you do double-click on the crafting toolkit, you get a nice list that's sorted into categories of what you can craft. So I got chemicals, I can make these, small stim pack A, which is like a healing thing. I can make some clothing, which is cool. Food, which are like used for buffs. Miscellaneous, so there's a ton of stuff in here. Camp kits, I can make my own toolkits. You can make fireworks that you can set off, a fishing pole, chance cube, dice, so for people who want to roll for looting or whatever, if you want to play D&D inside SWG. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Crafting components to make weapons like blaster barrels and grips. Here's the survey devices and traps for scouts, and then even weapons. I can make my own knife, carbine, pistol, or rifle. So a lot of this, I mean, if you look at the description for, like, especially the weapons, there's a whole lot of stuff here, and it's like, I don't know what any of that is. So that's what I want to go over, like what you need to know, what you're taking out of this, and what's important. So first things first, we need to get some resources. I have this mineral survey device, so I'm going to double click on that, and it's going to ask me, since it's the first time I'm using it, to set a range. Your options here will be based on this surveying skill tree, or branch in the artisan skill tree. The higher up this tree you go, the wider surveying range you get. So I only have one choice now because I'm a novice artisan, so I'll choose that. Double click it again, and you'll get a list of all the resources that are currently on Naboo. They're not the ones near me, they can be anywhere on the planet. And this is the list that changes, I believe, once a week. So every week, and I could be wrong on that time frame, but I believe it's once a week, the resources on every planet shift. So that means this list will not only change, but even if something's on this list 2 weeks in a row, the location of it will change. So I know I'm going to need metal and minerals to make some of this stuff. Metal is actually considered a mineral, because it is. So you might need to collapse these to see the hierarchy. But yeah, since this is a mineral survey device, all I'm going to find are minerals. So we got radioactive, metal, gemstone, and low-grade ore. We need metal. So in here we have different categories of metal: non-ferrous and ferrous. Inside ferrous you have steel. Inside non-ferrous you have aluminum and copper. And then even in aluminum, there's 2 types of aluminum. Copper, there's 2 types of copper. And steel, there's 3 types of steel. When you get into the really high level stuff, like you're making endgame weapons and endgame armor, this is very specific. you will need a specific type of copper or a specific type of aluminum or, whatever. Since we're just starting off, it makes absolutely no difference. So I'm just going to double click on the first one that comes up. So Duralaw, which is titanium aluminum. And this little survey thing will tell you where that resource is. So, and you get a nice little waypoint saying, oh, the highest concentration is over here. So you can actually see your character moving, and there is a 10% concentration of that resource right here. So when I get over to the edge of that map, I have to survey again. So I survey again, and now I can see, oh, if I were to keep traveling in that direction, there's 15% concentration over there. I'd have to go around this whole building, which is a waste of time because 15% is really bad. So I'm going to try the next one. And notice every time I survey, it uses some of your mind. 12%, let's try copper. Ooh, that's pretty good. We're already standing on a 38%. There's 42 over here. Let's just keep checking the rest of them, though. More copper. That one's not even located nearby. We'll go down to steel. Ooh, that's pretty good. 43. Well, 38. Ooh, there we go. 78%. We're going to stick with this one. Again, though, it's going that way. Well, I mean, we're standing on a 76%, and that's good enough to get a sample. So, alright, we found a good concentration. You could go and find a higher concentration, but for the sake of this video, we'll just stay right here. This button here called Get Sample. You also get an ability called Sample when you become an artisan. I'm going to hit that. Basically, your guy kneels, and it says you begin to sample. You successfully locate a 4-unit sample of whatever it is. And I got 8 points of surveying experience. Now, if you don't touch your guy, if you just leave it here, the sample thing will actually repeat itself automatically. So as long as I don't move or try to, stop the sampling, he will keep sampling. So you begin to sample for it again. This time, I failed to locate a sample. So whether or not you locate a sample is determined by the concentration and your skill in surveying. But you can see I have 8 points of surveying experience from that first sample. And to get this first skill, I need 500. So if I were to keep doing this, eventually, oh hey, I got 6 more points. Eventually, this is how you level this branch up, is simply by surveying. So you'll see people in groups. You can actually see there's some people doing it over there. They're just AFK sampling to level that branch up. But the good thing is we're gathering resources. So I now have 7 units of this steel. I'm going to let my guy keep sampling, which sampling is draining my action bar. And he's just going to keep accumulating this steel for now. So while he's doing that, I'm going to double click on my crafting tool. Let's say I want to make... Let's stick with something basic. Let's say I want to make another crafting tool. I can't afford to buy a second one. Well, that's not a good one because I would need chemical. Or yeah, actually, let's stick with this idea. Let's say I want to make this crafting tool. You want to look here to see exactly what you need. I need 12 units of metal. Okay, I have 11 right now, but I'm still working on that, so that's not a problem. I also need 4 units of mineral. Well, guess what? Metal is a mineral, right? We use the mineral survey tool to find it. So what this is really saying is I'm going to need 16 units of this metal, 12 to fill this requirement, and another 4 to fill this requirement. Then I need 4 units of chemical. Well, unfortunately, metals and chemicals are 2 different resource types. Fortunately, I can make my own chemical survey device, and that requires 8, 8, 3, and another 8 minerals, so 16, 24, 27 units of this steel. I'm at 14 right now, so this is going to take a little bit. We'll just sit here and wait, but I'm going to double click on this. You come to this nice screen. You have all of the resources that you can use will be listed in this window here. All of the resources that you need to make the item are listed here, and they're sorted by, you can hover over it to see exactly what you need. And then down here is that same description that was on the first page. So if I left click on this, oh man, that's really bad. it'll highlight all the slots that that particular resource can be used in, and you'll get a little meter here that says, you know, estimate how good of a quality resource that is for that particular slot. Now let's see, why is this metal absolutely horrible? And it's horrible because this is a whole meter right here. It's kind of hard to see with my UI color, but this meter actually goes all the way to the top of this box. So this little red means, yeah, horrible. If you were making this device and this was like a weapon or something like that, nobody would want this weapon because the stats would be ultimately, they would just suck. Fortunately, survey device doesn't really matter what the stats are on it, so we can do this anyway. But why? Why is it so bad? Well, if you look over here in the description of the item, under quality, it tells you what part or what stat on the resource is important. So for the quality of the survey device, it's looking for high conductivity stat. It says 100% of the quality is going to come from conductivity. Now if we look at the steel that I'm gathering right now, if you look in the description here, you'll actually see, oh, here's the conductivity, 48. Now remember, these numbers are out of 999, or it might be out of 1,000. Either one. So 48 out of 1,000 is really, really bad. This is horrible steel to use for any item that requires good conductivity. But again, like I said, since the stats on a survey device don't really matter, we can use it. So you can either click and drag the resource onto the different slots, or you can double click and it'll add it in start to finish. So we have enough now to make all of this. So I filled it all in with the steel. I'm going to click assemble. It's going to say, are you sure you want to assemble this? Once you take this step, you cannot go back. Yes. Here we go. I have this. Experimental effectiveness is 1% because the resources were really bad. It says object creator Phenodin. I'm going to click next. You can name it. Chemical survey device is the default name. I'm just going to name it Phenodin's chemical survey device because why not? And I'm going to click create object. Are you sure you are done with that item? Yes. So now, if you open up your inventory, you'll see your crafting tool has a little number in the top right corner. It was 22, now it's 17. Basically, that's a timer until when the item's done, in seconds. So in 12 seconds, I'm going to get this survey device. And there it is. Phenodin's chemical survey device. Alright, so I'm going to, let's see, I got 15 units of steel. We will, alright, we'll stop that. So I'm going to stand up, and it says you stop taking resource samples because I stood. I'm going to double click this. I'm going to have to set the range on that. And let me double check what I needed to make another crafting tool. 4 units of chemical, so it doesn't matter what chemical it is as long as it's a chemical. So I'll double click this. Don't be fooled by this. This is just the last survey I did, so this is still the steel. I haven't checked this yet. So you see chemical, you have different categories here again. Fiberplast, we'll just check that. Nope. Liquid petrochem. Nope. Well, that's not bad. Nope. Nope. There's a lot in here. Oh, wow. There are not a lot of chemicals in downtown Theed. I'm gonna run out of mind soon. There goes my mind. Oh, that's even worse. Alright. What was the one that we were actually found? I think it was this one? I'm gonna sit to get my mind back a little faster. Must be standing. Come on. Yeah, alright, good enough. 48%. So I'm gonna get a sample. Failed to locate a sample. It's alright, we'll let it go until the next one. But see, yeah, if I go back to that, miscellaneous, generic crafting tool, again, conductivity is what we're looking for. Now, while I'm sampling, let's just look at some of the other stuff. Let's say you're really interested in making weapons, and you want to make yourself a rifle. Alright, this just needs metal. Yeah, actually, if I open this, no, because it's still a basic one, so it doesn't really matter. You would just need metal, chemical, and metal. But if you look down here now, for a good attack speed, you'll need 50% of the attack speed on the weapon will come from the conductivity of the resources you use, and the other 50% will come from the overall quality of the resources you use, which overall quality is an actual stat. Overall quality. So even this steel has poor overall quality. This chemical, 250, is still pretty bad. Notice the chemical, though, doesn't even have conductivity. So depending on the resource will actually change the stats that are listed. And from what I understand, it's kind of strange the way the game works with that. So let's say I was using this and for whatever reason, it needed conductivity or some other attribute that this particular resource doesn't have. Instead of counting that resource as 0, it actually will use all 100% of the other stat. So if it needed conductivity and overall quality like this, and this resource doesn't have conductivity, it basically takes this 50% and adds it back to overall quality. So it doesn't say, oh, that resource doesn't have conductivity, that's horrible, and you lose that 50%. It just takes that 50% and lumps it in with the other attribute that you need. So if you have really high overall quality, then that resource would still be really good even if it didn't have conductivity. And you might need to rewind the video and listen to that one more time, but that's the best I'm going to be able to explain it. We're not doing too well getting this chemical. I only have 4 units so far, but I'm going to go back. Oh, by the way, since I made that item, I gained some artisan crafting, or some general crafting experience. So you can see I have a little bit of progress in all 3 of these trees now: engineering, domestic arts, and business. Engineering will lead to droid engineer. You can make droids, which actually is one of the professions that has not been implemented in the emulator yet, I believe. Shipwright, which also has not been implemented because that was part of the Jump to Lightspeed expansion. But weaponsmith, armorsmith, and architect all have. So this is for making weapons, obviously, armor, obviously, and architect would be like houses or furniture. Tailor and chef are both implemented. So tailor is for making regular clothing, and chef is for making food, for buffs. And then merchant will let you place like NPC vendors and stuff in your houses. Ooh, good, I'm glad this happened. So every once in a while when you're surveying, you'll get one of these survey events. It says, as you work, your survey device beeps and chatters. You look down to find that it has discovered a nearby node of concentrated resources. You can either ignore the survey device and continue working, or you can focus the device on the concentration. It's really up to you, but there are AFK surveying macros you can use that will only work if you... Well, basically, the macro will end up ignoring the thing every time. For the sake of this, I'll do focus the device on the concentration, just so you see what happens. So, alright, so it gives us a waypoint to a higher concentration, which is great, except it's on the other side of this building again, so I am too lazy to run around. I have 8 units of chemical now, which I think is enough. So we'll go back in. We'll go to Miscellaneous, Generic Crafting Tool. Yes, okay, so I only needed 4. I have 8. But since it doesn't... See, this is perfect. It needs conductivity here, 100%. Unfortunately, since this resource doesn't have conductivity, if it had another requirement, this percent would be added onto the percent for that other requirement. Since this one doesn't, since it's the only resource that's or the only attribute that's required, I think that means that this is going to be really bad. I have to look up on that again, and when I do my advanced crafting video, I will get back to you guys on that. But I think this would be poor to use here. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to do it anyway. What I'm noticing though is I actually need 16 units of metal, and I only have 15. So I have to go back to my mineral survey device, go down to the steel, and get sample. Come on, I just need 1 unit. 1 unit. Alright, there we go, 4 units. So now we open this up, General Crafting Tool, double click the chemical, double click, Assemble. Yes, I know. I don't... Yes, okay. And tool effectiveness is negative 14.82. Compare that to the one that I purchased, which is a positive 13.53, which means any items I make with the tool that I am making myself, which I'm going to name Phenodin's crappy generic crafting tool, create. Any items I make with the one that is currently being created will be significantly less quality than the one that I purchased. And the reason being is the person who made this one, Zama, used resources with a lot better quality than the ones that I used. So that's how this works. You might, if you were watching my previous episodes where we did the missions, or even, I don't remember if I did it in the basics one. I don't think I did. If you're a scout, when you kill creatures, you can harvest them for either hide, meat, or bone. They all have the resources just like the ones that I'm sampling for. So, overall quality 85, 155, 568. So this herbivore meat that I got from Tatooine is actually pretty good as far as overall quality goes. 568 is a little more than half. This insect meat's horrible. Most items that you make require a good overall quality. So if you don't really know what you're looking for in a resource, always check that. So here we go. I have Phenodin's crappy generic crafting tool is in my inventory now. So I can actually craft items with both tools at the same time. So I can set something up to craft on this one, and you know, while that says like 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds, I can be using this other tool to craft. So, yeah. That's a good introduction to it now. Just keep your eyes on what you need over here. So, like, for example, if you're going to be making stim packs to heal yourself, you're going to need resources that have good... You're going to need organic and inorganic, which organic would be like hide, inorganic would be like the metals. It's going to need 66% of the stats are going to come from the overall quality, 33% is going to come from the unit toughness, and that's for the charges, which is how many stim packs you get when you make it. The power, 66% from overall quality, 33% from potential energy. So if I open this now, here's a list of everything that I can use. I'm going to click the steel. That's actually not too bad, because the overall quality of the steel is 215, which sucks, but the unit toughness is 400. So 33% comes from the unit toughness. That's for the charges. But if you look at the power, they're perfect. This is exactly the example I was looking for. Since the steel does not have potential energy, this 33% is added to this 66%, which really is 99, but you know how thirds work. So it's actually 100%. So 100% of the power of this stim pack, if I make it with this steel, is going to come from the steel's overall quality, which 215 is pretty bad. So ultimately, that would be a poor choice. This would actually, yeah, this would be a little bit better if I had 8 units of it. You can actually see the gauge here goes up a little bit when I switch to the petrochem, but I just don't have enough. So I'm going to use the steel because I don't have a choice. As far as the hides go, meat, pretty good, bones, bad. Alright, so I'd end up using the meat because, if you look, 66% of the overall quality for the power, 568, the other 33% is coming from potential energy, which is 429, and 100% of the charges are coming from the overall quality because the meat does not have a unit toughness. So 568 is more than half. It's not the best, but it's not bad. So I'm going to use that for this requirement. I'm going to click Assemble, going to click Yes, and that's not too bad. It's telling me right here I'm going to get 10 stim packs, and 1 stim pack is going to heal 76 health and 76 action. Pretty good. Click Next. Alright, one last thing I want to talk about in this video is practice mode. So let's say I'm grinding my crafting profession. And let's say I'm making a whole bunch of something that I don't want filling up my inventory. If you check this little box here that says practice mode, basically what this says, and actually hovering over it tells you, it says select this option if you're only practicing. A prototype will not be created in your inventory and you will receive an experience point bonus. So if you check this box, you're still going to lose the resources you used to craft the item. However, you're not going to get the item itself, but you are going to get an XP bonus. So you're going to get more experience for crafting the item, you're just not going to get the actual item. But I want the stim pack, so I'm just going to create object, yes, and there we go. 24 seconds from now, I will have a little stim pack I can use to heal myself in battle. So that's a pretty good introduction to crafting. I definitely intend on doing another episode on crafting at some point in the future because, like I said at the start of this episode, crafting can get really complicated. Certain items will require multiple components. Certain items will require components that come from a factory crate, which means they have to be exactly identical. Certain draft schematics you only have access to when you're by a crafting station. So, I mean, there's a lot more to crafting than just this. But hey, here's my small stim pack. I can put that up on my toolbar. So now when I'm fighting, if I need a quick heal, I just hit that hotkey and I can heal myself with stim packs that I made myself. And the stats of the stim pack will be determined by the quality of the resources you use and the stats of the crafting tool that you use. So there's a lot of variables that come into play. So it is possible in Star Wars Galaxies to become like a server famous crafter. You'd be like, oh, who makes your weapons? Oh, Phenodin makes my weapons. Oh, I heard he's awesome. Or, hey, who made that armor set for me? I don't know, Mobius made it. Mobius what? He makes awesome armor, which I don't, but... so yeah, but it's more than just weapons and armor. It's weapons, armor, food, clothing, medicine, so like doctors can make stim packs and buff packs. So there you have a lot of options, even housing. I mean, the cool thing about being an architect or a tailor, not so much tailor because at some point clothing you'll be able to put sockets in it so that you can mod the clothing. But at least if you don't care about that, you're just doing it for cosmetics. Tailor and architect, the stats on the resources don't matter so much because you're not going to have a house that, you know, I don't even know where I was going with that. But you're not going to have, when you're creating buildings and furniture or whatever, it doesn't matter what the quality of your resources are. No matter what they are, you're still going to get the same item. So if you want to be a crafter in Galaxies and you don't want to have the headache of managing high quality resources or hunting for high quality resources or purchasing them from other players that take the time to do all that, I recommend either architect or tailor. I was a tailor when Star Wars Galaxies was live, and it was actually a pretty fun grind, and you actually do make some good money because a lot of people that are into role playing will purchase multiple outfits. So yeah, that's the basics of crafting, and thanks again guys for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.